Hey, high school leaders. First off, I want to say sorry that every time I film one of these videos, I look like a hobo. That is not for any other reason than I just come here and hit record and I don't get in a studio or have a fancy light. I'm just on my computer. So I'm more worried about the content than the presentation, and that's why sometimes it looks like I filmed this with a potato and I don't look great. But, anyways, this week we are talking about sex. And it is really important with high schoolers that we come in with the lens that every high schooler you're talking to has some baggage in the area of sex. Whether it be actual, they dated someone in some kind of sexual experience, or whether it be porn, or there is all this baggage that comes around this topic. And here's what we're really trying to get across when we're talking about sex is I want every high schooler walking in here, and we're not splitting this week, and I'm probably going to make my message geared towards high school a little bit and hope that it doesn't freak the middle schoolers out. And even last year, I didn't separate how I talked about them that much, but for you guys specifically as high school leaders, here's what I would say is if you walk in with the assumption that each person in here has some kind of baggage surrounding that, it helps you lead this conversation with grace. And I think an unfortunate thing that the church has done for years is come in and say, God wants sex for marriage, and if you haven't done that, shame on you. And for years, with the purity culture and different things like that, we've created so much shame around sex that you can't be open and honest about where you're at with it. And then people end up hiding, and the isolation, the hiding actually drives them more towards the behaviors of sex or the comfort of that rather than having healthy conversations around that. So what we want to do is we want to address this topic with a ton of grace. You want them to feel heard and understood and let them know that they're not broken or disgusting or how could they ever have sex before marriage, that there's nothing wrong with them. But at the same time, we want them to understand the purpose of sex, that it is very much designed by God, that God wants them to have a good sex life. Like no one cares about their sex life more than God. And that even in that topic, our goal is to help them see there is a purpose behind this. And unfortunately, our media says, oh, sex doesn't matter. Sex doesn't have a lasting impact. It's animalistic. Just have as much of it. It's just a good feeling you get. Just chase that. Whereas we all know that's a lie. And I'm going to talk about that. But we know that's a lie. And we want students to understand that sex is not just this like, oh, whatever. It's just this, do it whatever you want because it feels good. It is something that has so much weight behind it. And God designed it as the ultimate act of vulnerability. It's nakedness both physically and emotionally. Like it's complete nakedness with another person that just says, I want you to be completely involved in my life. And that connection and that comfort and that confidence can really only come from a covenant of marriage, a committed relationship that says, I'm not ever going to leave you. And so we're going to talk about all of that. That's why, again, I encourage you guys to take notes while I'm talking so that you can have this conversation. If you don't have a lot of the terms or words, I'm hoping to provide some of that so you guys can use that. But this is a sensitive topic. And I want students to know, like, if you're having sex or if you've had sex, God doesn't look at you like, oh, you're disgusting. I don't want you to follow me. Rather the opposite. He goes, you don't understand how much more I have for you and how much I want you to have this beautiful gift. But the way you're using it right now is not its best intention. So it's not this big stickler in the sky that God's like, oh, how could you do that? You're so gross. But it's a God who's like, there is so much more for you. It's like the way we treat sex, God sees us like eating dirt, and he's like, I've prepared something so much better. And so that's what we want to get across. So just an encouragement to handle this topic with a lot of grace, and just every student walking in go, you probably have some kind of sexual baggage. And just assume that, and it'll allow you to treat them with empathy and kindness. So yeah, thanks guys.